Hey, Teresa here. I am a functional and integrative nurse practitioner and traditional naturopath, specializing in helping those with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. Last week, we talked about daily stress techniques, things that we could do to help with our fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue symptoms. We talked about the connection between stress and fibromyalgia and how it's like a vicious cycle. We talked about deep breathing and the importance of that. And I showed you some exercises. We did some guided visualization and some stretching together. And we talked about mindfulness. This week, we're going to continue the conversation. Today, we're going to talk about the effects of the connection between sleep and stress. I'm going to give you some tips for getting better rest at night. I remember going to a conference a couple of years ago, and the physician said if there was one medication she could give any of her patients with fibromyalgia, it was a sleeping pill, meaning that she was underscoring the importance of getting a good night's sleep. When we sleep at night, that's when our bodies restore and it has the ability to heal itself. If we are getting interrupted sleep, our reset factor is just kind of null and we don't get that benefit. When we have increased stress, that can worsen and make it really impossible for us to sleep or sleep well. That really just adds to that vicious cycle. We produce cortisol at night. It's actually what wakes us up in the morning. It's called the cortisol awakening response. So when cortisol is already up, that can also affect our ability to either get to sleep or stay asleep. Let's talk about what we can do. One of the things we can do is set a consistent schedule. So going to bed every night around the same time. I had a naturopathic physician way back in the 80s when I was first starting in this journey. And he said, 2 hours of sleep before midnight is more effective than 4 hours of sleep after midnight. So 10 o'clock, absolutely, lights need to be out. It's really important to be able to set a consistent schedule to get to bed every night and also to establish a routine so that your body has this trigger that says, oh, now it's time to go to sleep because you're doing the same kind of things every night. You establish, it's called sleep hygiene. That could be taking a bath. It could be reading. It could be doing the breathing exercises or the stretches or the mindfulness meditation, just getting yourself into this established routine. Another thing that we can do is just limit caffeine and alcohol. Caffeine 4 to 6 hours before bedtime, you want to avoid because the extra caffeine will ramp you up and it'll make it harder for you to go to sleep. We sometimes think that alcohol is going to help us to calm down and to be able to relax. Really, it elevates our heart rate, it increases cortisol production. It actually does us an injustice when we drink alcohol before going to bed. Another thing we need to do is optimize our sleep environment. It's really important to sleep cooler. We don't want to overheat at night. It actually wakes us up. So turning the bedroom temperature down and then adding on the blankets. There are weighted blankets and they use them for babies a lot of times. The weight on us, that pressure is not just comforting, but it actually helps us to stay asleep longer. I particularly like a fan or something that gives me airflow through the room. I actually fall asleep to the sound of rain most nights or that white noise that will help my mind to just unwind and get relaxed to go to sleep. One of the other things that we can do is to do our deep breathing and do our mindfulness meditation. There are a lot of nights where I will use something called Insight Timer and I put my plug-in earphones in and I will do a guided meditation with some deep breathing exercises. I also use something called Brain Tap. That's a whole nother level, uses lights and sound therapy and isochronic tones and binaural beats that really resets your brain and can really help you get into some deep delta sleep. The last thing I wanted to share is screen time. Screens put off blue lights, and blue lights affect the pineal gland, which is where we make melatonin, and it affects our circadian rhythm. So we want to make sure that we really limit screen time. My phone is set to go into dark mode. If I happen to be looking at my phone, checking email or whatever before I go to bed, which I don't often do, but sometimes I will, read or something like that from my phone. So it automatically goes into dark mode. All the blue lights turn off. Is also a visual reminder then that my body is like ready to go to sleep. Turning off those blue lights will help also with melatonin production because it also affects the pineal gland. I would say try one or if not all of these suggestions that help you optimize your sleep. Another little side tip you can always use, there are different herbal remedies that can help if getting to sleep and staying asleep is an issue. You can reach out to me and I'll help you with those things. I hope this added value to you. I hope that you're able to implement some of these things to help you get a better night's rest and that helps to improve your symptoms. Feel free to share this. Please like it, follow me if you haven't already, and reach out if you need anything. We're here to help.